my background, I grew up in rural New Hampshire. In fact, my mom was best friends with a current CDW employee, Tara Barry, who I would babysit with her and her sister and roller skate in the park back in the 80s. And I was looking for a way out of the small town I grew up in. I was different than everybody else. I decided I was going to join the Navy. The Air Force. I decided it was going to be the Air Force. I was vacillating between the Navy and the Air Force. And Air Force had computers, so I was going to go there. And the day that I was to sign the form to actually join the Air Force, because I had passed all my tests and I was going to go into ROTC and go to college that way. And so for me and my recruiter, it was a joyous day. I'd spent a couple of years working with him. And so he goes, here's the form, and just sit down over there and fill it out, and we'll be ready. And so I sat down and I opened up the form, and the very first page of that form asked if I was homosexual. And at that time, I really didn't know what that word meant, but I knew that it probably had something to do with how I felt about men. And I was insulted instantly that my own government that I was trying to serve didn't want me, because I knew that question was a filter question. I wasn't going to get in if I answered truthfully. So I decided to close the page and walk back to the recruiter and give him the thing. And I said, no, I've decided I'm just going to go to college on my own. And he was surprised and dumbfounded, but I walked out, but thinking to myself, not lying to my government just so that I can serve. And how ridiculous is this, that I had to go all the way through that to find out that I'm not welcome. But it was fine, because it led me to go to college on my own and work through there. I didn't come out until my senior year in college, when I actually met another gay man that I was attracted to, who said he was gay. And I was like, what? And we were walking through the campus at the University of New Hampshire, where I went, and he asked me, he goes, well, when did you come out? And I was thinking about it, and when I said the words, I'm gay, I stopped in my tracks, realizing I was coming out in that moment. And he started walking in front of me, because he didn't notice I'd stopped, but my whole body was like wrung with, wait a minute, I'm not alone. I have a community. And so I caught up to him and was talking to him. And now I'm getting really excited, because for the entire time I was alive, I thought I was alone. I thought I was an alien, totally not like anyone else in the world. And all of a sudden I realized that this community that I had heard all these bad things about was actually my community, and that I could make a difference. So I ran to the LGBT center, where I immediately had to deal with my own homophobia, because I grew up thinking that effeminate men were just men that wanted to be like women, and I was attracted to men that wanted to be like men. So I had no clue the diversity of my own community. And I walked in there, and this beautiful man who majored in cello and would play cello out in the middle of the walkways in the forest, going, from class to class, and I would avoid him because he was too effeminate. And I didn't know why. But guess what? He was in charge of the LGBTQ group. And I ran in and said, I'm here to help. And he said, well, great. And I actually had a conversation with him about how I felt. And he said, well, you know, we all have internalized homophobia. It's time to get rid of yours. Which I did immediately because he was charming and a wonderful person. And so from there, I was out. I was an RA in college, so I would bring my residents to see coming out group, which would be 4 or 5 people who would tell their coming out story to people who had never heard about being gay. And those authentic stories gave people a reason to understand from a fresh perspective. It gave them an opportunity to see somebody who is proud of who they were, talk about their difficulties getting through life, which most people might have to deal with or think about,